Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. Today on Connect with Helix Remedyforce, we're going to see how to configure the LDAP Pentaho package. Please allow us a couple of minutes just to begin to see if any other people is going to join with us. We will begin in a short minutes. Thank you. Okay, so again, welcome to today's webinar. Today's topic is going to be how to configure the LDAP Pentaho package to migrate your Active Directory users from your Windows server or your Windows Active Directory to Remedyforce. Today with me, it's also Jair, which is part of the Remedyforce support team. He's going to be helping today on the chat. So feel free to ask him any questions on the chat. And if we can see it live on the webinar, we will check them. If we are not able to answer them, we will take them as pending and we'll reach back to you. So without any further delay, let's begin with today's agenda. Today we're going to see a small overview of how the Pentaho integration works. We're going to see how to download the Pentaho from the beginning, and how to configure the package once we download the package and configure the package. We're going to see how to migrate. We're going to migrate a couple of users. And before that, we're going to see a couple of tips and tricks on how to we can customize the package, because it's an important topic once you have to download the package, because every single Active Directory is different. Okay, so before we begin, there's a couple of prerequisites we need, and we need to basically download the Java development kit, and this can be found at our community site in documentation. Jair is going to post you on the chat the links to download all the files needed. Second thing, once you have installed JDK, we need to install, or just download, it's not an actual install, you're going to see in a bit, the Pentaho data integration tool. The Pentaho data integration tool, it is actually a free license tool that basically what it does, it handles data, transforms data, and delivers data into another system. So it can be used for multiple things. So we have created a package that works with Pentaho, that what it does, it takes your users from Active Directory, transforms any type of data depending on what you customize or what you want to transform, and delivers into Remedyforce as a form of a user. Once you have downloaded the Pentaho, just unzip the Pentaho folder. And finally, we need to download the package that contains all the job transformations to take the users from Active Directory to Remedyforce. That's the third step. It is also a zip file, so you download that and unzip it. If you would like to see detailed information about every single job, or if you're familiar with Pentaho, you can consult our docs.bmc.com and go to the Remedyforce section. This presentation is going to be included as well on the communities event, so you should be able to get these links from here or from the chat. All right, so let's start then with how to download the packages. Once you download the package, the Pentaho data integration tool is going to be a zip file. You're going to unzip it. That's going to take a couple of probably minutes, and it's going to look something like this. This is version 6. The version I recommend you to download for this package is version 7. We're going to use version 7, but I'm just showing you version 6 just for demo purposes. The folder is basically the same thing. You're going to find a folder that contains the name of the version, like this one. And inside that folder, there's going to be another folder, data integration folder. Okay, so let's go in there for a sec. So we have already our Pentaho folder, and we need now to download our community's package, our Pentaho package. And that package, it's located at our community's website. It's this one basically. So when you download this one, this is just a couple of kilobytes. It's not that many data. So let's wait until it finishes, and I'm gonna take this one and put it into my desktop. Hold on. So let me just unzip everything. All right. Once you have unzipped the folder, now we're gonna have two folders. So we have our data integration folder, which is a Pentaho tool, and we have our package folder that contains all the KTRs and KJV files. All these things are basically called transformations and jobs. So the KTRs are transformations, and the KJV, which is the main file, it's the actual job, right? There's a README on every single Pentaho that will take you directly to the documentation. If you want to just take a look at it, just go ahead and do it. So once you have this, let's go and open from your data integration folder. Let's open a file that is called spoon.bat. Right click on it and execute as an administrator. Once you have done that, if you have installed, remember you have to install JDK. This is basically step 2 and 3. After you have installed JDK, you gotta do this. You gotta go to in that integration folder and open the spoon.bat file. There is small chances that your Pentaho data integration is not able to find your Java path folder. But we have a couple of videos already on the channel on how to fix that. It's not an actual problem, it's just a missing step on the configuration. Try to open it just like that, and if it opens correctly, it works, right? That means that you don't have to do anything else. If it doesn't open at all, there must be a problem with your Java, because this thing runs on Java, okay? If you face anything like that, I recommend you consult our videos. There's a couple of videos on how to just make this open correctly. That's the first big step. Okay, once you have open, Pentaho is going to look something like this. And Pentaho, let's go and open now our job that we have downloaded. Okay, so it was on the desktop, and I'm gonna open KJV. The KJV file is the main file. This file is going to load the rest of the transformations, so you don't have to worry about them. Okay, so just open this one. All right. So this is how it looks. I would like to explain a little bit of how the process works, because I think if you understand how the process works, then it's going to be simpler to identify where do you need to make any customizations, and if you need to. It is important to know that every single company has a different structure on Active Directory, right? So it's impossible to create something that works for all those possibilities, all right? So first thing first, the job, what it does, it basically needs to gather the information you have on your Salesforce, okay? Things like your profiles, your permission sets, your accounts, your roles, because we need this piece of info in order to create a user, right? A user requires, besides username, email address, first name, and last name, requires a profile, a role, a permission set that it's optional, but if you want to include it, you can include it. Stuff like that needs to be filled out, okay? So the first job, the first transformation here, if you go into it, right click, open reference object, it's going to open this transformation. This transformation, what it does, it takes the profiles, the account, roles, account links, permission set, and existing users from your Remedyforce into your local computer or your local server, into the folder where you have downloaded this package, right? This info will be required later for the process. All right. So then the next step, it's something that that's called check delta timestamp file. This step basically, it verifies when was the last time the package run successful, okay? Because there are some users or some customers that they have so huge Active Directories with thousands and thousands of users. So to run the job against, I don't know, for 500 users, or it's not the same as running against 50,000 records or 50,000 users, right? So that's why this option exists. So you have the possibility of running only for the records that have changed. And in order to do that, we need to save the timestamp. So that's why the job checks when was the last time I run successful. Okay, it was yesterday. Okay, so now instead of running against 50,000 records, I'm just going to run for the records that were modified or added between the last time I ran and today. So if it doesn't exist a timestamp, that means that it's either deleted by the administrator, or it is the first time that it's running. So it's going to run against all the records on Active Directory. So that's these two steps. So then it comes to the next one. I'm not going to be very specific on this one because this is it's the most complex one. Couple of things to verify here, and we're gonna see them further down the video of the webinar. But here it's basically where the magic happens. It's where we query your Active Directory here. I'm sorry, we create a filter here to filter your Active Directory, which is this one. Okay, then we query your Active Directory server. Then we assign dynamically here some stuff like the account, the profile, the permission set, and we're gonna see later how to do this. I'm just going a quick overview. Then we basically assign all those mappings to the users, and we transform those mappings into stuff that Salesforce or Remedy can understand, right? At the beginning of the process, we update or create new users if they are not present on the system. That's basically this job. After that, there's only complementary information that's being added, like permission sets to new users, managers. If you have a manager on your organization, Active Directory managers are added as well on Remedyforce. The licenses and the accounts. That's the rest of the process, okay? So, all right. So how do you start to configure the package once you have downloaded and once you have it on your local computer or on your Windows server? By the way, this can be placed on a local computer if you have a server that goes out into the public network, or a server where you have access to, right? Either way, you can put it into your Windows server or you can put it in a local computer. That depends on your needs, okay? So there's only a couple of details we need, right? To basically get connection between both sides. This new version of the package only requires you the next parameters. If you do right click into the main job, I'm gonna close this thing so don't confuse anyone else. Right click into the main job and go to parameters. We require you to give us your host, this is your LDAP password, and I mean to give us just to put it here, not actually give us your LDAP password, then your username from LDAP, and this is basically the LDAP, the basic LDAP connection string, right? Then the Salesforce URL, which is this one. This is a fixed URL. Do not change anything on here. And then just put your password, follow it by your security token, and the username. Okay. Couple of things to check before we begin. How do you get your security token? How do you know if you can connect to the actual Pentaho, connect both sides? How you verify that? Okay, it's recommended to have a security token to prevent Salesforce to deny us the connection. All right. So let me show you how to get your security token before we proceed further. Once you log in Remedyforce as an administrator, go to your name and click on My Settings. Go to Personal, and here there must be a way. Here there's a section called Reset My Security Token. If you don't see this option here and you are an administrator, that means that your profile has been granted with special access to access from any public or private network. That was granted on your profile, okay? So that's a reason it might be missing here. If you click on Reset Security Token, a new token will be delivered to your mailbox or to your username's email address, and that is basically an hexadecimal string that we must put into the system to connect safely, and that ensures that the connection is going to be working. Okay, so how do you test your connection with your security token? The easiest and the fastest way is to go to login.salesforce.com and introduce your username here, your password, and your password followed by your security token with no spaces between them. That's very important. If you click login and you're able to connect, that means the connection works. Okay? So that's the same thing we're gonna do here. So we're gonna put our password followed by the security token. Okay, so I'm gonna do that for this account. This is a test account, so it doesn't matter if I show you my password here and the username. So, okay, let's see, what is my username? This huge username. Okay, and now let me get my security token from my mailbox. There you go, that's my security token. Again, this is a trial version of Salesforce, so it doesn't matter if I show you my password. Do not do this on your side. I mean, this is not masked as a password field, so make sure you don't show your administrator password to anyone. Okay, now something that I cannot show you, it's the server details like the username and password for obvious reasons. That's a server that BMC has bothered us for a couple of days to do this testing. So I'm gonna skip that part, but you must put here your LDAP host. That should be something like myserver.mydomain.com, something like that. They will depend on your Active Directory. It can be as well an IP address. Yep, or a domain followed by a port, depending on your configuration. The protocol to connect will be LDAP. There was a couple of questions back I saw from the support team. There was some people asking if there's any possibility to use LDAP-S, which is the secure connection between LDAP and Pentaho. And yes, it is possible, but you will require to have an SSL certificate installed on your server, and the SSL certificate imported into the Truth Key Store on Java, right? That doesn't mean the connection we have is unsecure. That's not true. It's only the connection from your Pentaho folder to your LDAP that goes into through this protocol, which is LDAP, right? But if you have your Pentaho on the same server as your Active Directory, there's not much to be worried about it, right? The rest of the info is sent through HTTPS, which is secure, so you don't have to be worried about that. All right, so now I'm gonna switch to my already configured version of the package, which includes the details about my server. There you go. Okay, so this package already has the connection to my LDAP. What I can show you, it's because on this part it's masked. It's the connection it's working. On your side, you don't have to do this because everything should be on your parameters at this point. Okay. So now, okay. We have already connection to Salesforce. We have put the details of the connection for LDAP. So we should be fine, right? Yes, there should be connection at this point, but we don't know exactly where are we assigning the profile account, which users we're taking from Active Directory into Remedyforce, what's going on there, okay? So if we go into, I'm going to repeat that process. If we go into this job, which is a job that has a mapping and takes the users from one place to another, right click on it and transformation, open reference object transformation. If you come in here, let's review the step again. This step, it's where we are creating a filter for your Active Directory. If you're not familiar with Active Directory queries, or if you do have an Active Directory administrator, I recommend you to discuss this part with him, okay? Every single Active Directory is different, as I mentioned it, right? The out-of-the-box query, it's this one that I have here commanded. So your package will come with this. What is this query doing? It's basically saying from the object category user, which is an attribute on Active Directory, give me the users that were changed, and we already mentioned this, that were changed the last time that the package run and today. right? And I don't care about his principal name or its principal name. So this will retrieve every single user that was modified between the last time the package run and today. Okay, so that's the filter out the box. If you run the package like this, it's gonna take every single user. Okay, so keep in mind that. And before you run everything, we strongly recommend you to run this against your sandbox and not your production, just to prevent any further problems. All right. So why are we putting this filter then to basically gather all the users? Well, it will depend, because we don't know exactly the names of the groups on your Active Directory. We don't know how many domain controllers are you using. We don't know any extra details, right? So if you're okay by grabbing every single user, you can stick to this one and it will grab everything. All right. So for this demo, I'm going to Active Directory now. I have created a distribution group on Active Directory that it's called Remedyforce Clients. Okay. So then for this distribution group, I just have one user, but I'm going to create a new user. This is going to be a Remedyforce administrator just for the testing, because I want to show you a couple of extra things. Okay. Let me just finish creating the user. All right. So I have here Remedyforce administrator. Now I'm gonna put this administrator into this group. All right, now it's there. And I'm gonna make this user an Active Directory. I'm gonna check who is his manager. Okay, it doesn't have a manager. So let's add Remedyforce administrator as his manager. Okay, there you go. All right, so we have a couple of users there. This is what I meant when I told you it's really hard to have a query that works for you specifically, because we don't know your Active Directory structure. I have so many users here, and probably some of them will not supposed to be included on Remedyforce, right? But it will depend on you. So for me, I just would like to have a small group of users for clients, a small group of users for administrators, and a group of users for staff ones. Okay. So now that we have 2 users on this group, we need to query this group. Okay. So here's where you can ask your Active Directory administrator if he can build a query to query this specific group using LDAP, right? On my side, I know that the query must be something like this. I'm going to use an attribute from Active Directory. I'm going to gather all the users. I'm not asking for groups or anything like that. I'm just looking for users. And I'm going to use an attribute that it's called member of. This member of attribute gives you back the list of groups that this user is member. Okay? How does it look like? Let me show you. So I'm going to do a static search. And now, as you can see, now I have my 2 users there. and I'm gonna look for his member of attribute. Okay, here it is. So the member of attribute, as you can see, returns back the groups this user is member. Okay? This member of attribute, it's a string variable or a string type. So that means it has a limit of characters. So see how many characters takes for only one group. Okay? We have seen some scenarios where are some users that they're complaining that this attribute from Active Directory is getting truncated here because they have lots of groups added to multiple users. And that is something we cannot change. It's something that comes from Microsoft. It has a limit. It has a limit of characters here. But if it doesn't apply for you, you can use a search space as well. Ask your Active Directory administrator to structure your Active Directory in a way you can query certain users using a search space, like a separate domain controller or stuff like that. You can do that, and that way you can segregate groups like clients, staffs, the administrators, because that's the main thing. Okay, so member of, it works for the majority of the customers, right? And to add member of, if you don't see member of there, you go to the fields tab here on the LDAP inputs tab, fields tab, scroll down here, and you probably will not see member of, but you can add here any field you want. This is the list of fields that comes from Active Directory. It's a list of attributes. So if you know how to what is the name of an attribute in Active Directory, you can put it here, select the name of the attribute, and that's it. In this case, it's member. I know that it's called member of, just like that, because I read so in the Microsoft documentation. You can take a look at that as well. And I'm gonna select, because it's a string file, a string variable, I'm gonna say it's a sorted key. No, it's not a sorted key. And it's going to be taken as a string. That's it. You click OK, and then you will have member of for every single user. All right. So just a quick recap. So we have created our query, or you can keep using the default one. I'm going to comment the default one because I don't want to get all my users from this Active Directory. I just want to get the users from the clients. If you need help building a query on Remedyforce support, we have some samples that we can send you so you can see a couple of examples and follow then your own Active Directory structure. So we have created a query just to query that group. That group has only 2 users, okay? So then the next step is the LDAP input is gonna get those users. And then let's go to the third step. So here's where basically we're going to assign, we can assign dynamically accounts, profiles, permission sets, basically every single field on the user can be modified dynamically depending on the user's attributes on Active Directory. In other words, I can basically say, okay, if this guy is called, let's see, and this guy is called Remedyforce Webinar Client, please assign the profile whatever and the permission set B, and assign account C and stuff like that. You can do that, right? Or you can do stuff like, okay, if this guy is part of client, it's part of the Remedyforce clients group, assign this one. Or if it's part of staff group, assign this portion of data, right? So here's where you can customize the mapping or the assignment of profile, permission set, account, stuff like that. Okay, so the out of the box looks like this, and do not change anything on what you see here that it's not commented, right? Here are some examples of what you can do. Some of them I already mentioned. If the principal name equals whatever, then assign account service support, assign profile customer portal manager. Okay? If the OU, which is an attribute from Active Directory, equals XYZ, then assign this account, assign this profile, and this applies for multiple users. This applies for a single user. This applies for a single user as well, the CN. Okay, so those are commented examples that you can use there. You can start playing with them, and again, do this on your sandbox so you don't have any risk of modifying anything in production. Okay. Also, here's a good one. If you uncomment this one, uncomment the 4 lines if you want to use users in Active Directory active or inactive. That means if I come into Active Directory and I disable this account, this is a group, I'm sorry, this account, if I disable this account, if I disable that account, the changes will be reflected on Remedyforce. That means that the account will be inactive on Remedyforce, right? Out of the box, it doesn't do that, so you have to come here, and uncomment this line. Just remove these comment lines, or just copy this and paste it over here. That means if I disable that account will be disabled on Remedyforce. Alright, so I'm gonna do a small example to show you how you can customize how can you customize or dynamically assign different accounts or profiles, right? Okay, so we have created a new user that is what's called Remedyforce Administrator, right? If we take a look at the current mapping, it's assigning the next. It's assigning Service Desk Client, and it's assigning Acme account and Service Desk Client profile and permission set. Okay, so now I know that there are attributes in Active Directory that can tell me either the first name, last name, email address, the full name, right? So you can use any of those attributes. You can even use attributes like text boxes like descriptions, or any other attribute in Active Directory you can use to compare and decide if this is the user I want to assign this account, let's go and assign it, right? Or you can do it for a group of users. That will depend on you. This case, I just have 2 users, so I'm gonna use the CN attribute from Active Directory, which is the full name. Okay, so I'm gonna use that, and I'm gonna compare CN. Okay, we have a question here from Gary Jackson. Do you mean disable in Remedyforce or disable in Salesforce? That is a good question, Gary. If you let's do a quick recap. If you uncomment this 4 lines that I uncomment, if you on Active Directory disable an account of a user like this, disable account, and then the packet, the Pentaho packet runs the next time to synchronize users, the account will be disabled on both Remedyforce and Salesforce because it's going to deactivate the user record on Salesforce. So that means it won't be visible on every Remedyforce component, and it will be visible for an administrator because they can see inactive users. And if you change that manually, and this is very important, if you change that manually on Salesforce, the user record, if you activate that manually, but on Active Directory, it's disabled, the next time the package runs, it's going to deactivate back the user. So if you enable this, so that's why it's commented. If you enable this, you gotta make sure that every single time they're going to deactivate the user, you have to do it through Active Directory, right? If you don't do it that way, the job, and this line is uncommented, the job is going to keep activating or deactivating the user depending on the status on Active Directory. So I'm not sure if that answers your question. Okay, let me know, by the way, in the chat any questions. I'm gonna read them live here. Okay, so let's proceed. I know that my new user, it's called Remedyforce Administrator. And what I'm going to do is I'm going just to create a 1F. If my keyword allows me to create it. So I'm going to say if cn equals Remedyforce Administrator. Cn, it's an attribute from Active Directory that contains the full name. Then what do we do? Okay, so as we can see, this is JavaScript, by the way. I forgot to mention that. This is JavaScript, so it's scripting on JavaScript. It's a very friendly language, so you should be able to do pretty much anything. Okay, so we have a variable ready for profile and a variable for permission set. Okay. All right. So let's take the profile first. And we're gonna say something like profile equals, and then we're gonna choose the name of the profile, which is System Administrator. You gotta be careful with this. You gotta because if any typos happens here, the profile will not be populated. And if you don't choose the right name for your profile, so you make sure you're going to copy the right profile name. Okay, so then now for the permission set. The permission set is a tricky one because for some reason, and this is coming from Salesforce, for some reason Salesforce decided that the permission set will not be able to use spaces between two words. Example, as you can see here, services client on the profile, it has perfectly a space here, and that works because that's the name of the profile on the database on Salesforce. But the permission set, it doesn't allow you to do that, so you have to use the underscore. So the permission set for Remedyforce Administrator, it's called Remedyforce _Administrator. And let me just double check that. I don't want to. Okay, permission set Remedyforce Administrator, that's right. And I'm gonna use this profile as well, Service System Administrator. This profile, it's pretty much the same as the System Administrator, but it's only for you to have a Remedyforce Administrator or a Salesforce System Administrator. All right. Okay, so don't forget the semicolons here. So we're saying, hey, if you see Remedyforce Administrator passing by, please assign it this profile and this permission set and do the rest of your job. Okay, that's it. That's how it works. And again, you can do that for groups as well. So you have the option to massive do that for groups. All right, so let's continue before the time catches up. That's where we assign accounts, profiles, and permission set. But where the mapping happens? The mapping happens here. on this Salesforce Observe step. If you double click on that step, here we're gonna see left side the fields coming from Salesforce or from Remedyforce, like username, first name, email, alias, account ID from Remedyforce, account name from Remedyforce. Okay, so then right side we have our stream fields, which is the variables we have created, the attributes from Active Directory. All right, so I have seen this very often. What happens is that people would like to add additional mappings, and here's where you need to add them. You need to add them here from the left side. Here's not going to show me any connections. We have to put the name of the API name. This is very important. The API name of the field you want to populate from Salesforce or from Remedyforce, and right side the name of the variable you're using or the name of the attribute on Active Directory. This must be included on any of those steps that we saw. It probably should be called by the LDAP input or created here, but it should be there. Example, as you can see, we have here the email, which is a field from Salesforce, and we have this attribute because this looks like an attribute from Active Directory for the capital A here on the middle of the word. Mail address is the attribute for the email address on Active Directory. Okay, so that's where the mapping happens. All right, so now we have our quick recap. We have created a filter. We have introduced the parameters to connect to Salesforce and LDAP in our LDAP server. We have done a minor customization on the account profile and permission set assignment. Okay, just to assign and this specific user this profile that permission set. All right. Then we are just waiting just to run the package and just see if those users are populated. So let's save all the changes we have done here. Let's go back to the main job, save the changes as well. Let's verify all the arrows are on, are not grayed out. Everything should be on a solid color, no matter if it's red or green. All right, so let's go back here, the main job, and let's click on the play button here. And let's do it. Let's click run, and that will start the job running. If you go to the login tab here, probably gonna see, oh, we have a couple of errors. Let's see what happened. Oh, I didn't revert the changes back here, so hold on one sec. Let me do a quick troubleshoot here. Should be fine in the next minute. I'm just checking if there's any problems with the query. query is good. So that means it's working. Going to get back here to dynamic. Let's see if the changes we made here were affected. Yeah, I think we have a problem with the parentheses on the LDAP query. So let's check again the LDAP query. Right, just double checking the query here. Okay, so let's go back to the main job and try to run it again. By the way, when you are trying to make this work, I recommend you to set up the debug as the log level as debug. It is very common to face any kind of errors at the beginning, especially with some missing parentheses or problems with the connection string and stuff like that. Yes, Gary, I'm going to answer that question in one sec. Just let me try to understand why this... okay, hold on. I think we got it. Yeah, this was unchecked. Let's just save again and do the final test. So I think there was a problem where we were playing with the query. I think we removed one of the parentheses by mistake. But as you can see, the login, it basically were showing us that there was an unbalanced parenthesis there. All right, now it's working. And let me just check Gary's questions. Should we output Salesforce ID, field name, reset ID, user ID? And also, can you let me know what the upsert comparison field is used for? Oh yes, Gary. The upsert. Before we go ahead and check the results of the import we have done, to answer Gary's question, the upsert step, it's basically a step that allows us to identify if a user is already created on the system, not trying to attempt to create it again, and if already it's there, just to update the user, right? The upsert comparison field, it's basically a unique field. Okay, it's a unique field that must be present on both sides, on Active Directory and on Remedyforce, right? So we have this unique ID in source, which this is a custom field by Remedyforce, and we're comparing that against this user principal name. User principal name is an Active Directory attribute that that gets back most of the times the email address, most of the times, but it depends on how you use that attribute on Active Directory, right? So we expect not to have two people with the same email address, right? Unless we have, I don't know, some scenario where we do have something like that. But that's how it works. So that's why it's going to, when you develop something on Pentaho, if you create an upsert step, it's going to request you a comparison field, right? That's the field we are using. All right, we're running out of time, so I'm going just to recap what was the problem. Just to the problem was on a parenthesis missing here that I probably deleted while testing or while doing the webinar. The error was shown here on the login tab. I'm not sure if I came back to the error message. No, I'm not able to. I just rechecked the query, saved the job, and I went back to the job to run it again. That was the main problem we have here. All right, so let's see what was the result on our users. Okay, so as you can see, we have Remedyforce administrator here, and we have Manuel Perez, which was not part of the system, or I think it was, but it was a different one. So Remedyforce administrator has system administrator profile, and Manuel has client profile. Okay, so that means that it worked checking our script that we just created, right? If we check the permission sets, Remedyforce administrator has Remedyforce administrator permission set because we configured that on the script, and Manuel Perez has the client permission set, right? Also, if you remember, we on Active Directory said that Manuel is a manager. Manuel's manager was Remedyforce administrator, right? On Active Directory, that's our own organization field on Active Directory. I'm just going to show you real quick. Here, organization name of the manager, it's Remedyforce administrator, right? So if I come here into, we have a question as well to how to reset the token. I'm gonna show you, yes, I'm gonna show you just finishing this. I was saying, yes, the manager, yeah, Manuel, if we check the manager field, manager, it's Remedyforce administrator, so that means it's taking correctly that. And just a quick recap on how to reset your security token as an administrator, as from any part of Salesforce. Go to your name and click on My Settings. Go to Personal, and then there's a tab to reset my security token. Something regarding the security token: if you change your password, the security token will change. So keep in mind that before you set up. Most of the times we recommend that when you set up an integration for a to LDAP to send users from Active Directory to Remedyforce, keep in mind that try to use an integration user. Do not use a simple administrator account that will change the password, because when you change the password, you gotta come back to the job and change the password and change the security token, right? So be careful with that. All right, so as you can see, it basically took whatever we told him to take from Active Directory, and it took the manager correctly, it took the profile and the permission set. And instead of grabbing the whole universe of users I have here, as you can see, I have a bunch of users on my Active Directory. I was able to query just a small group of them, right? So that's how you need to query just one group, two groups, and assign them. You can create multiple packages, like one package for staff ones, one package for clients, one package for administrators, right? One package for one domain controller, right? And also, if you saw, we run manually the job, but you can set up the job on a schedule to run on a Windows server, to run on a daily basis or weekly or monthly. We have a couple of videos on, I have a very detailed video on how to configure the package on the YouTube channel, and another one for how to schedule it. So if you want to take a look on how to schedule it, I recommend you go ahead into the YouTube channel, look for them. It's called same thing, how to configure LDAP package, how to schedule LDAP package. It's going to be up there. It basically, this is how it works, and that's how you can troubleshoot as well some minor issues that you may have. Most of the times you gotta be careful with the typos. That's the most common problem. A missing type or a missing character or a missing parenthesis can basically crash the whole thing. But once it's running, or once it runs the first time, the next time you're going to run it, it's going to run smoothly, right? And if I do a change right now on my Active Directory, like changing something on, let's deactivate Remedyforce administrator account, or let's deactivate Manuel. And let's just verify we have the, yes, okay, we're checking if they're active or inactive. And let's run the job again. Please let me know in the meantime if there's any further question before we close the session. Let's go ahead and check Manuel's account. And as you can see, it has been deactivated. So if I come back here to Active Directory and I activate Manuel back, and let's run the job again. You don't have to run the job every single time you do a change. You can wait for the next scheduled run if you have done the schedule configuration. But we're just doing this just to show you how it works. Alright, so let's just refresh this. There you go, and now it's active again. So finally, just a disclaimer here, and I got this question really often. People is asking me if there's any way to replicate the opposite way. That, I mean, if you do a change on Salesforce, on a Salesforce users, to basically grab that change into your Active Directory. And that it's not possible because the way communication works, and that's how are we going to finish. Let me get back to the the way the communication works is a communication one way. It's only from your Active Directory to the Pentaho integration to Remedyforce. So any change on Active Directory will be replicated on Remedyforce, but not the other way. So if you change something on Remedyforce and Active Directory is not aware of that change, they're not going. The next time the Pentaho job runs, it's going to synchronize all the changes back. Okay. Well, finally, just a quick reminder of our self-help and contacting channels. Again, this presentation is going to be uploaded to the communities event. That's our YouTube channel. That's our communities website on BMC Communities. Those are our technical support phone, email, and web page. Feel free to ask any questions. I'm just going to wait a couple minutes to see if there's any other questions. Gary, tell us that you can do this via service request. I have successfully updated expired dates and AD users need to be used on LDAP. Oh, that's excellent, Gary. I mean, out of the box, it doesn't come with that feature, but obviously Pentaho gives you so much possibilities because it's a free tool and you can basically play with it and do any, I don't know, crazy customizations you want. That's an excellent one. I didn't know that was possible at all. So thank you for sharing that. All right, fellas. Well, if there's no any further questions, okay. Gary says to support out service request inputs and map them. It's a bit tricky. Oh wow, yeah, that sounds pretty tricky. I have PDI 8. That's problematic. Chris Shields, it's asking. They have PDI 8. That's Pentaho 8. No, Chris. As far as I know, the packages are not backwards compatible. That means that if you probably use Pentaho 6, and I tested this yesterday, I tested Pentaho 6 and Pentaho 5 on these packages, and they were causing me a lot of troubles. But I tested 7, 7.1, 8, and 9, and they work correctly. So I don't expect you may have any problems with Pentaho 8. All right. Well, this video is also going to be the record session will be uploaded immediately after the webinar. It's going to be available to you with the same link. You can copy the link and save it on a bookmark if you want to check them later for anything we have said here. Yes, are also some. Yes, Gary, I do agree with you. Most of the limitations that will come with Pentaho will come with Java, unfortunately. But we cannot do much on that. Anyway, thank you for sharing that. It's good to know there's possibilities of doing that. So thank you so much for that. All right, fellas. Thank you so much for joining this webinar. We're gonna announce the next ones in a couple of weeks. So please stay tuned to the Remedyforce newsletter, Remedyforce support channels and communities. Let us know any feedback of any topic you may want to see live, any configuration live you want to see, and go to your BRM or to any support representative and give any feedback to them. We will listen to your feedback and deliver the webinars you want. Thank you and have an excellent day.